Welcome back to Unsettling Tales of True Horror. I'm Celeste.
And I'm Mason. Welcome back.
Okay, so Mason, starting off with you. How was your week? Yesterday was the
Um,
eclipse and
so
the world did not end, so.
yeah. But today was a good day because my Spanish teacher wasn't there.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a funny story that happened to me this week. The other day, on Sunday, we were getting ready to go to Troy's parents' house. So we walked downstairs and I saw my neighbor. So we sat and talked to her for a
Mm.
second. She had her dog. And she's telling us a story how she had just gone to the park and was walking her dog. And there was like a little boy that was
Mm.
like chasing after an injured duck. And this duck was like clearly injured. And she was getting like
Mm.
kind of upset at the little boy. And she was like, oh, don't do that. And like the mom got really mad at her for saying something to her son. Long story short, basically, there was going to be a fight, okay? And that's what I tried saying. Okay, this is a complete
Yeah.
serious conversation, okay? She's telling us this, and I go, oh, there
Uh-huh.
was, and this is what I was trying to say. Oh, there was going to be a fight. But stupid me did
Uh-huh.
not say that. I don't know why these words came out of my mouth instead, but I go, oh, there's going to be a fart. I
What?
I don't know why I said fart instead of fight. Troy lost it. He had to walk away because he was laughing so bad. I couldn't even listen to the story anymore. My face got bright red. I was like, I did not just say that to my neighbor.
How does that even happen?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm listening to her story, and then all of a sudden I say fart. I don't know. So I haven't seen her since. I'm a little embarrassed. I'm just gonna stay in my house from now on. This is why I don't socialize. I'm just very awkward. So this week's episode is Accidents at the Happiest Place on Earth, Disney Death. Okay, so my sources are Wikipedia, surprisingly MapQuest. They actually had some information on Disney Death. wdwinfo.com and medium.com. Disneyland is known as the happiest place on Earth. However, for some, this place is not the happy place we all know and love. Today, we're going to talk about some of the freak accidents that have happened at Disneyland. Disclaimer, I do want to say this episode contains some graphic details and talks about death. Before I jump into these stories, I actually want to tell my own story that could have gone horribly wrong. And if it did go horribly wrong, I could not be here today. I remember I went to Knott's Berry Farm with, I want to say it was my grandma. I don't know what adult was there with me,
Mm.
but I would assume it was my grandma because it was me, my cousin Samantha, and then my other cousin Cody. We went to Knott's Berry Farm for the day, and I remember going on, I think it's called Supreme Scream. So it's that ride that's
Yeah.
like a rectangle that goes straight up in the air. You sit
Mm-hmm.
down, four people, it goes straight up, and it kind of like goes back down. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So we get on that. It sits like four people, and I think it was, I know I was sitting next to my cousin Samantha, and I think the seat next to me was empty because there was three of us, and so that fourth seat was empty. We sit
Mm.
down. I don't recall if the worker came and checked our belt buckles like they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But if they would have checked it, they would have realized mine wasn't locking. So we went up in the air and it has like a belt buckle. My freaking harness, so it comes over your head, you know, so it like comes over your head and clips between your legs. And I'm
Yeah.
holding on to it and the freaking thing comes up off like my shoulders. It wasn't locking. And we haven't done
Oh
any
my.
drops yet, but we were still going up in the air. I started
Mm.
screaming so like loud because I was terrified I was gonna die. I was freaking gonna fall out of this amusement park ride. I know my cousin Sam looks over at me and realizes what happens, and so she's trying to hold my lap bar down. I want to say we're probably, I think this was even before you were born, Mason.
Mm-hmm.
So before the age of 13. because I was 13 when you were
Jeez.
born. So I don't know exactly how old I was, but my cousin Sam, who's the same age as me, was holding my lap barn down, trying to keep it from like going up. And my cousin Cody was sitting next to Sam. And so he was laughing because he thought I was screaming because I was scared of the ride. But in reality, I was literally screaming because I thought I was about to die. And I don't remember what happened after that. I just remember my lap bar not going down, and that's all I remember. So,
Oh my gosh.
terrifying. I will never go on that ride
Yeah.
again because of that. Luckily, nothing bad happened because I am still here today. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's scary. And I can just imagine, like, if that can happen on, like, an actual, like, at amusement park, like, I don't trust, like, carnival or fair rides. I will not go on those. Like, they're just, like, thrown up really quick. Like, no, I don't trust that. Okay, so we're going to jump in to today's episode. So Disneyland obviously doesn't like having death associated with it, and most of the time they have these accidents, the people that were in these accidents taken off of Disney property, and then they're pronounced deceased, so it's not associated with the park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. However, this doesn't stop accidents from being reported at Disneyland. So I'm going to tell you 5 different events that have happened.
Okay.
There's actually a lot. When I was researching, there's like a lot of different stuff. So I might do a part 2 on this.
Okay.
Okay, so in July of 1967, a transportation attraction was opened in Tomorrowland called the People Mover. The attraction had small trains that didn't stop. They moved throughout Tomorrowland on tracks that had tires that pushed the trains on through the track. So the train themselves didn't have an engine. It was just being pushed through on the tracks by tires. It moved at a max speed of about 7 miles an hour. So, not very fast. On August 21st, 1967, a 17-year-old boy named Ricky Lee Yama was aboard the People Mover. He decided to try to jump between 2 trains while it was moving, right before they entered a tunnel. He believed he would be able to do it since the ride did not move very fast. Unfortunately, Ricky missed the second train and landed on the tracks. He ended up being run over by the second train, and they had to actually disassemble the ride just to get to Ricky after he was hit by this train. Yeah. And then on June 7th, 1980, so 13 years later, Gerardo Gonzalez actually did the exact same thing Ricky attempted, and he too lost his footing and didn't make the landing on the second train either, so he also was killed by trying to do this.
Jeez.
So the second one is America Sings. It was an attraction that unveiled in the summer of 1974. It was a giant rotating theater with singing robot animals. So this attraction actually has taken on multiple different themes throughout the years. So what it is, it's a giant rotating theater, and like you sit inside and you watch the theater that's in the middle and it moves. So like when you're seated, you don't move, the theater moves, obviously.
Oh, so it's like the flight through California one.
I don't know how that one exactly works, so I couldn't tell you, but it's like...
Well, you sit down and it's like you're flying through California.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
like, it's almost like you're moving.
Yeah, but it's instead of it being a screen, like the theater in front of you actually moves in circles. So you're watching multiple different acts, like as it's rotating. 18-year-old Deborah Stone got this job at Disneyland, and she was so excited to be working here. She was going to be the hostess at America Sings attraction. On July 8th, 1974, just 9 days after the attraction first opened, Deborah was closing the attraction, and the last show was at 10:30 that night. Well, she went inside, and we're not really sure why she went inside, but she ended up going inside and was somehow pulled into the moving theater, and she ended up getting stuck, and like she got stuck on the nearby moving wall, and it crushed her between the 2 walls.
Oh my.
And the most eerie thing is the people in the attraction that were watching that last show actually heard her screaming. And by the time they heard her screaming, it was too late. But also, it was said that as they heard her screaming, they thought it was part of the show.
Oh,
Yeah. So the attraction ended up being shut down in 1988. So our third story is going to take place on Christmas Eve in 1998. Luann Dawson and his wife were enjoying their Christmas Eve at Disneyland together. They decided to ride the large Columbia ship. As the ship was arriving at the dock, an employee jumped onto the deck to secure the rope to the post. And this was to keep the boat from, like, floating away. Like, you know how they, like, wrap the rope around the dock to keep it from moving? Okay, so that's what the employee was doing. However, this employee ended up securing the rope a little too early, and the ship continued to move, and it caused this little post that the rope was wrapped around to be ripped away from the dock, and it went flying into a crowd of people. The metal post ended up hitting that employee in the ankle, and it just caused, like, significant damage. It, like, ripped his ankle apart.
oh my.
And then it ended up hitting Dawson in the back of his head, and then it hit his wife in the face. The couple was then rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately, Dawson was pronounced deceased just 2 days later. And this was the first
Jeez.
accident in Disney history where Disney actually took full responsibility for what had happened.
So they didn't like take him out and then say, so they just said it right there.
No, they were rushed to the hospital first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But actually, Disney took accountability for that because their employee was the one who wrapped. It wasn't, like, the first story wasn't, I'm not going to say it wasn't Disney's. It's not Disney's fault. It was kids who weren't listening to the rules. They say keep your arms, hands, and body parts in the vehicle at all times, you know. Obviously, the people aren't listening and they're doing what they want to do. The second one, I don't know. Do you think that was Disney's fault? Do you think Disney should have taken responsibility for that one? With Deborah being crushed between the two walls?
Possibly, yeah. She was a worker there too, no?
Yeah, she was. But,
Yeah,
like,
so the same thing happened.
yeah, but they didn't take full accountability. But like I said, like,
They should just do it no matter what if it's one of their workers.
yeah. But they also said they don't know why she went inside because she was just a hostess. She was only supposed to be outside greeting the guests. So I don't know if she was going inside to, like, check. I don't know. So we're on to number 4. On August 14th, 1979, a 31-year-old woman went on Space Mountain, and this is one of my all-time favorite rides. You know Space Mountain, right, Mason?
Yeah.
She became very sick during this ride and was unable to get out of the vehicle, like the ride, at the unloading zone. And there was an employee that told her, just go ahead and remain seated. We're going to help you out. And you know how, I know specifically in this one, they usually, like, take the vehicle, and move it forward and off to the side, and they can, like, switch out cars. So that's what they were going to do with her. They were going to put her in, like, the side so they can help, like, assist her to get out of the vehicle while they can still have this ride attraction going.
Yeah.
So the employee told her, just go ahead and sit still. We're going to move you over, and then we'll help you out. Well, somehow, she was accidentally sent through the ride for a second time. And as she arrived at the unloading zone for a second time, she was barely conscious. She was then taken to a nearby hospital, where she went into a coma, and she ended up passing away a week later. So they ended up doing an investigation. They wanted to figure out what happened, how she went through this ride for a second time, how she was sick and then all of a sudden went into a coma and passed away just by this ride. And it was found out that she actually had a heart tumor that had dislodged and entered her brain.
Oh my.
Yeah. So Disneyland had a lawsuit against them because of this incident, but it was ultimately dismissed because the coroner attributed her death to natural causes. Yeah, I mean, that is
Wait,
absolutely...
so how's she going the second time?
They don't know. So she was supposed to be pushed off to the side of the tracks to help her be taken out of the vehicle, but instead of her being pushed to the side and moving another car there, they put her through.
So that's their fault.
Yeah, they put her... But, okay, so they put her through the ride the second time. I would say that is their fault, but also that was a natural cause, because how were they supposed to know that she had a tumor that was going to dislodge and go into her brain? But yes,
Yeah.
I will say I will fight that also, because if she was sick going through the ride the first time, they should have taken her out. And if they did, she probably wouldn't have died right then and there because of it being dislodged. Although I will say I don't know, because if she went through the first time, it could have happened on the first time in the ride. You know, it could have gotten dislodged that first time.
Yeah, but she already asked to get off because she was feeling a bit sick, so that's their fault too, because they didn't get her off.
But then again, I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure Space Mountain is the one where you stop in front of a screen, and I'm pretty sure there's a person in there. I think it's a real person, pushing you through. You know what I'm talking about? Have you been on the ride?
Yeah. No, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so, I don't know. I don't know if they could have gotten her out by then. Could have stopped the ride.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's crazy. That ride, I absolutely love it, but I'm always so scared of putting my arms up because I'm scared I'm going to hit, a pole or something, and my arm's going to go flying off. Because it's so dark in there, you can't see. They did turn the lights on once. I remember getting caught on, in the ride, and they had to turn the lights on, and it was just, it was so crazy looking in there. Okay, so we are on our fifth and last story. So June of 1973, an 18-year-old boy named Bogdan and his 10-year-old brother visited Disneyland together. They were having such a great time, they didn't want it to end. They decided to stay in the park past closing time. They made their way to Tom Sawyer Island. So Tom Sawyer Island is obviously that island that's in the middle of Disneyland that's surrounded by water, and you have to take a boat to get there and back. You know which one I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, well, there's an island, Tom Sawyer's Island. You have to take this, it's like a raft kind of boat. You walk on it, and it just takes you there and back. You can't get back without getting on the boat. Bogdan and his brother decided to go to Tom Sawyer Island. They rode the little boat thing over there, and they ended up staying there on the island until closing time. So they wanted to make sure, everyone was called off the island. They went back to the main land area, and Bogdan and his brother came out of hiding. It obviously worked. They were there to hide until everyone went home. But they were unable to get off of Tom Sawyer Island once it closed because they didn't have access to the boat.
Yeah.
And the boat is obviously on the other side of the water. So they decided, well, why don't we swim across the water to get to the rest of the park? But the thing is, the 10-year-old little brother didn't know how to swim, so he ended up being carried on Bogdan's back while he swam. And unfortunately, Bogdan ended up drowning halfway across the river, but he was able to save his brother, and his brother was able to dog paddle all the way to the other side of the island, and there was a ride operator that found him and was able to rescue him.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. I heard that the reason Bogdan drowned is because that water isn't like normal water. It's obviously water, but it's inside of the water, I'm pretty sure are I don't know what word to use for this, generators or something to get the water to ripple, because it's constantly moving, it's constantly rippling, And so there's big generators throughout the water to make the water move. Like,
Yeah.
so I think he ended up like either hitting one of those, or it was too much for him to carry his brother on his back, or it ended up sucking him down or something. But I mean, unfortunately, he didn't survive, but he was able to save his brother. But
Dang.
very sad.
Yeah.
Those are our 5 stories of today. Obviously, some of these were just freak accidents that literally couldn't be stopped, like the woman in Space Mountain, that's a completely freak accident, or the one where the man got hit in the face or the back of the head with the post. However, next time you find yourself at Disneyland, please listen to these rules because they have them in place for a reason. They're not just to listen to them and then disregard everything. Absolutely crazy. Sad. Those were just some of the incidents that have happened at Disneyland, and there is a lot more, especially recently with parking garages and people trying to jump off of them. Like, there's so many stories. It's absolutely crazy. But until next time, thank you for listening, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.